In a recent piece for NBC News, two former prosecutors and legal scholars made the case that there are at least 6 crimes right now that Donald Trump could in fact be indicted for. Now, the two prosecutors, or former prosecutors, one of them is also a former White House ethics attorney by the name of Richard Painter, who I'm sure most people are actually familiar with. The other is Claire Finkelstein, who is a professor at the University of Pennsylvania. So they laid out in this article 6 crimes that Donald Trump could likely be indicted for today if it came down to it. And some of these, of course, are the more recent things that we have learned. And some of them are throwbacks to crimes people probably forgot that Donald Trump likely committed. So let me read this. Their whole list here in their words. Number 1, obstructing justice as identified in the Mueller investigation. Pretty obvious, right? The Mueller report listed at least 10 different examples of when the Trump administration, Trump himself, obstructed justice as part of the investigation. That's pretty simple and straightforward, and of course, he was never held accountable for any of that. Number 2, bribing and/or extorting Ukraine with military aid to investigate his political opponent, Joe Biden, and conduct another investigation undermining the Mueller investigation. Again, pretty straightforward. Yes, he was impeached for that, but they also could have just impaneled a, grand jury to investigate it, but they didn't because Trump was president at the time and he controlled the DOJ. But he doesn't now, so what you waiting for? Number 3, coercing cabinet members and other federal employees to engage in partisan political activity in violation of the criminal political coercion provisions of the Hatch Act. Again, throughout the entire Trump administration, we saw countless incidents of them violating the Hatch Act. And of course, if Trump coerced them to do this, then yeah, that's prosecutable. Number 4, soliciting election fraud in a phone call to Georgia Secretary of State in November 2020. We've talked about that at length. That is the call to Brad Raffensperger, the go find the votes call, which he is currently being investigated for, of course, in the state of Georgia. Criminal sedition in authorizing preparation of the unsigned draft executive order dated December 16, 2020, pursuant to which President Trump would have ordered the Secretary of Defense to seize voting machines in certain states to look for evidence of election fraud. Again, talked about that at length, and that's just one of the many plans that they had in place that they almost went forward with to seize the voting machines. There was, use the military and the Pentagon, use Homeland Security, use the FBI, use local police in Michigan, use a local prosecutor in Michigan. The list goes on and on. And number 6, inciting insurrection at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. Again, fairly obvious. Of course, that one depends on the court's definition of insurrection. Does January 6 rise to that definition? And of course, did Donald Trump's words that day, fight like hell or you won't have a country anymore, does that count as inciting the actual insurrection? I think a lot of us would agree yes, but again, that's a decision the courts would have to make themselves. So there it is. So the question is, what the hell are we waiting for, right? There's 6 crimes right off the top, and I'm sure that Painter and Finkelstein here didn't even have to think very hard to remember all of these. The worst part is, this list continues to keep growing because this list doesn't even include all the information we learned in the last week about him violating the Presidential Records Act, which of course involved the flushing of documents down the toilet, tearing them up, and hiding the boxes at Mar-a-Lago. And yes, we do now know that some of the documents were in fact labeled top secret. So I don't know what more Merrick Garland needs. Get off your butt and start at least investigating this guy. If not, go ahead and move forward with indictments anyway, because all of the evidence is pretty much readily available for you. Hey everyone, this is Aspen. And did you know that for the low cost of $0 per day, you can subscribe to the Fair and Balanced YouTube channel? We also encourage you to like, comment, and share. But again, click that subscribe button and help Aspen not be so grumpy.